I hope to have more people joining us as this goes on, but I don't want to hold you up anymore. So my name is Carla Troop, and I'm with the Wareham Middle and High School PTA, and we were very lucky to get this speaker to come into town. He's a national speaker here from Indiana. He did 3 assemblies today at the middle school and 2 at Deacon's on anti-bullying and cyber safety. The kids, it was very well received. My 2 children both attended his assemblies today and loved it. We're talking about it when I got home. So if you have kids that are at Minot or the high school, they'll be seeing him tomorrow. And tonight he's going to talk to us as parents about keeping our kids safe online. And I don't know much more about that, but I do want to say thank you to all of our district principals, Superintendent Shaver Hood, and the rest of the PTA, including Tricia Bergioli, who helped make this all happen, and especially to Wendy Montero from the Scotty Montero Jr. Foundation, who has funded this whole event. They've sponsored it, and I want to introduce her so she can tell you a little bit more about their foundation before I bring out Jerry. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. Hi, everyone. I really expected that there was going to be a lot more people here. I have like 7-page speech that I thought I was going to give, but since it's a small, intimate group, I'm not going to read from this. I might refer to it from time to time, but my name is Wendy Montero. I was Scotty's aunt, co-founder of the Scotty Montero Jr. Foundation. Really want to thank the PTA for all the research and everything you did and all the coordination with the Wareham Public Schools and everything to make the presentations yesterday, tonight, and tomorrow happen. And since there's such a small group, if anyone wants to stop me while I'm speaking, please go ahead. Does everyone here know about my nephew Scotty and what happened to him? Okay, that's good. So I don't have to tell you everything about that. But some things that you might not know. Scotty was a really good kid. He was funny, he was caring, he was kind, he was considerate. He was always the person we could always go to if you ever needed anything. He was a great big brother, he was a great cousin. He was the one that all of his friends depended on. If they were having a bad day, Scotty was always the type of kid that could make you feel better. So he's really missed by us and his friends in the community. Some of you may have seen it on in the paper that we just found out yesterday that the kid who murdered Scotty's chance of having a retrial have been denied. So he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail without any parole. So we're very thankful for that, and the community should be able to rest a little bit more for that. So that gives us a little bit of comfort. One of the other things that we want you to know is we work really hard to bringing Stop the Violence education and awareness programs to Wareham Public Schools. And some of the programs that we've brought so far is Rachel's Challenge, the Katie Brown Educational Program. We've brought Chris Herron, and we're always looking for new programs to bring, and I'm happy to say that we've added Jerry Ackerman to our agenda, I guess that would be the best thing to say. Something else we brought starting last year is the Scotty Award. As I said, Scotty's a great kid, so we wanted to award other great kids like Scotty. So on a monthly basis, one kid from each grade will be awarded the Scotty Award. This award is for them having qualities like Scotty, being kind, being considerate, helping others, always doing the right thing. The student gets a bumper sticker that says my child won a Scotty Award. They get a t-shirt and they get the bracelet and some other goodies that we have from the Scotty Montero. On top of that, we post their information on our website and Facebook, and we also let the local newspapers know about it too. So we're trying to reward other kids for possessing qualities like Scotty. It takes a lot, it takes a village to bring programs like this, and we work really hard. to bring programs by our fundraising. We do a Texas Hold'em tournament. We do a golf tournament, which is a full day of the golf tournament. We do raffles, auctions. We have a helicopter golf ball drop. We sell sweatshirts, t-shirts, you name it. It's a lot of work, so if anyone is ever interested in volunteering, we would love to have you. And since it's just us, that's it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. It would have been a lot longer if there was a whole room here, but if anybody wants to talk to me, I'm available after this is over. So I want to thank you all. I'm going to give the mic back to Carla. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Now I'd like to bring out Jerry. Just to give you a little background on Jerry, he was originally from Pennsylvania. He now lives in Indiana, I think just outside of Indianapolis, with his wife and 5 children. He used to be a teacher and also a youth pastor, and for the last 13 years he's been doing public speaking and has spoken to over 1 million kids on bullying prevention and different programs that he offers through his own organization that he created. So can we have a round of applause for Jerry Ackerman, please? Thank you.
Well, this morning when I talked with the students, we began with a dance. I won't have you do that dance, but if you could for the next minute, can you get up, find somebody you don't know, and introduce yourself? Go ahead and do that if you would. Okay, I'll bring you back from doing that. All right, now everybody has to be honest. Raise your hand if when I said, find somebody you don't know, you were like, I'd really rather not. Some of you, can we just do the dance? That'd be great if we just did that. Yeah? Listen, I want to say a few things before we get started. First, thank you for coming, and I really mean that because I've been doing this for 13 years, and it's been my experience that the people that really need to be here aren't. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule, take an hour out of your evening, and I believe get some information, not just on social media, but how we can become better parents. And so I wanted to let you know that. And something else that I forget to ask, I forget to add, so I want to do it on the front end here. Once I get into this toward the end, you might be wondering, wow, did he share that with the kids? No. This is a completely different presentation than what I provide to the students, and I really get into the nuts and bolts of where kids are, and I do that for the parents and not the students. I don't do it for the students for 2 reasons. Number one, they know more than I do when it comes to all this technology stuff. Secondly, I don't want to be the one to introduce it to some student that doesn't know about it. So I just stay away from that. I talk more generalities and about their future and what they're putting online and how it can determine their future. So I wanted you to know that as well. So let me tell you a little bit about myself before you wonder who is this guy. I began as a teacher in a little town called Haleiwa. Haleiwa is a little town on an island called Oahu in the great state of Hawaii. This was a picture out my back door. Is anybody jealous? Anybody? I am too. Why did I move to Indiana? But that was my view out my back door. I taught in a small private college, a small private school about about a mile north of Waimea Bay, and I taught 7th grade, and it was in the early mid-90s when multiculturalism was a big buzzword in education, and I had 14 students in my 7th grade class. Each one of them was a different nationality. I had a Samoan student, I had a Japanese student, Chinese student, Hawaiian student, down the line, and so that was kind of neat, and it was also a time in that school's history when they did not have to wear shoes to school, so most of them came in bare feet. And I didn't realize this until late November. They obviously don't have snow days, but they do have surf days. And so if the water is up, if the surf is coming, the kids just don't come to school and you don't have school. So that was my first experience dealing with students. I call that the 10,000-foot view of things. Then I moved 5,000 miles east to Pennsylvania, and I was a pastor for a couple churches there. And I like to tell people I saw the underbelly of student life. I saw the Saw the unwanted pregnancies, saw the domestic abuse, I saw the attempted suicides. I was up at 2 and 3 in the morning quite often dealing with those issues that sometimes our students face. And I saw that vantage point. And then for the last 13 years, I go all over and I speak to all kinds of groups. I do a lot of student assemblies like we did today, get some time to speak to parents. I do speak for the Navy SEALs from time to time, do some corporate work, but a lot of what I do is in front of students. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I want to share you one more thing for credibility's sake. This is my crew. I have 5 of them, so it's good you're sitting down. She wasn't lying. I have a 16-year-old all the way down to a 4-year-old and 3 in between. They're all to the same woman as well, so 5 kids. And I share that picture when I do parent nights just so that you realize that I'm in it with you, that I'm a parent just along with you here. And so I certainly don't lord any of this information over you tonight. In fact, I find it to be a bit hypocritical sometimes when I stand in front of you and try to teach you some of this because it's such a moving target, technology is. But I just share that so you understand that I certainly have a heart like you do for kids, and I wanted to just share that bit with you. Let me begin with this question. Raise your hand if you think that student issues are different today than when you were growing up. Anybody think that's true? I used to say worse. I'm not sure it's worse, but it certainly is different. And I'd like to share 3 reasons why I think they might be different than when you and I were growing up. How about this? Media madness. The amount of media that our kids bring in is amazing. In fact, research, I can't pinpoint it, but I read it about 2 months ago. It said that the average 14 and 15-year-old of today consumes more media, more information in a 24-hour period than when you or I did at 14 and 15 years of age in a month's time. So the amount of information that they are pouring in is incredible compared to what what was our information growing up? I can think of 2 things. Like, we had a TV with rabbit ears in the living room, and a paper was thrown at the front door. That was really the extent of our information, of our media. And now, what do a lot of kids have? One of these guys, and all the information on planet Earth is in their pockets. Now listen, tonight you're going to get a little picture of my parenting philosophy. You can love it or leave it. You can throw eggs at me, whatever. But I'm just telling you based upon research, observation, my own experience, what I consider something we should or shouldn't do as parents. When it comes to media, I really question if we should have in our kids' room one of those glowing objects called a TV. Because if your house is built like mine, their room probably has a door. It probably has a lock. And if you have 180 bazillion channels of cable, they've seen them all. They have. And I think Mom was right when we were growing up, right? Garbage in, what? Garbage out. What we take in, it will come out. And I think that we fool ourselves if we think kids taking in this kind of information on a day-to-day basis, week after week, month after month, year after year, that it cannot change who they are. You know as well as I do. You go to a movie. Have you ever wanted to be that character? Remember Die Hard, the old Die Hard, Bruce Willis? That's all I can draw from, right? Remember you watched that and you come out of that dark movie theater and just for a brief instant, you felt like you were Bruce Willis? Like, give me a Humvee and I'll run over the cars, right? Just for a brief second, you have that. And with kids getting this kind of information in, man, it can just change who they are. I think that's one big reason why issues are different today than you and I were growing up. And how about this? Goes without saying, probably. Internet and cell phones. 2 years ago, when students walked across the stage to get their diploma, they were the first student body in the history of the world to graduate in which they were born after the internet. The birth date of the internet was March of 1995. That's the birth date of it, when it became mainstream. And now we have a full K through 12 student body that is born after the internet. You say card catalog and they're like, what? Right? You say typewriter, they're like, yeah, I think I saw it on Amazon. They don't have an understanding what life was like before the internet. And a lot of them, if I was to ask this in the high school tomorrow, they'd all have one of these devices. And I think this is interesting, isn't it? Because if you and I were 15, when we were 15 or 16, what if somebody would have came up to your mom or dad and they would have said, hey, I got a device. All the information on planet Earth is right here. Can I give it to you? What would your parents have done? They probably would have broke the thing, buried it, right? You wouldn't have gotten it. And yet now what? We gladly hand these over to our children. And you know it's true, right? You've seen that 3-year-old working that iPad like a champ at the restaurant. I mean, even little ones have this. And so this consumption of real-time information right here, right now, and I wonder, and we'll get to it, how much do we really know of what they're doing in that screen? Last reason why I think issues might be a little bit different. Can I go here? Parenting models? Have you seen parenting models the last couple decades? Have they gone down? Is it just in the Midwest? Is it here too? I've done this a couple times. I might be weird. And I'm not knocking on this place because I go to it more than y'all do. But you ever been to Walmart? You ever been to Walmart? You ever stand outside of Walmart for like 20 minutes and just watch people come in? It's a good cross-section of American parenting, isn't it? I mean, really? You ever seen that parent in Walmart? I'm not saying who, but have you ever seen the parent who has little Johnny who's like 4 or 5, and little Johnny runs down the aisle away from them? And have you ever seen this? The mom or the dad, they go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Raise your hand if you've seen that parent. Have you ever seen that parent, right? I feel like running up to the parent and going, did you know that you could actually say, Johnny, come here, and he could? I mean, if you want to. I mean, if you want to count to 10 and hope they come at 12 for the rest of your life, okay, maybe. But I think sometimes we as parents, we do not do the good job of actually parenting. And it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes time. But I tell you what, it keeps me going because I see far too many parents that come up to me after an event where parents are involved and their kids are 25 and they're saying, I have to bail them out again. And they just think, I blew the opportunity I had to build the character and the integrity and the choices in that kid, and now it's too late. So, I guess the question is, how do you get to the heart of your kid? How do you really get there? We're going to get to the social media, I promise. But how do you get to the heart of your child? I think sometimes we fool ourselves, because I've done this, and you've done it too. There's 4 words that your kids never want to hear again. I've polled every kid in America. Nobody wants to hear these 4 words. Because when they come home from school, you always say 4 words. You say this, how was your day? And when you say, how was your day, what do they say back? Fine, good, yeah, whatever, right? And we think we did our job of parenting, right? And they go upstairs and in the room, we're like, yeah, I did my great, got to the heart of my kid. No. I was driving in the Dakotas last year, and I thought to myself, I was just thinking, I was like, you know, what are ways to ask kids, so how was school today, without actually asking them, so how was school today? Not an exhaustive list, but how about what was the best thing that happened at school today? Tell me something that made you laugh. If you could choose, who would you sit by in class? If I called your teacher tonight, what would she tell me about you? Tell me one thing you learned today. If an alien spaceship beams someone up, who would you want them to take? If they say you got problems, I think. What word did your teacher say the most today? Who's the funniest person in class? Do you realize that these questions do not allow for a fine answer? They require communication. They require dialogue. And this, I think, is part of the job of parents, is getting to know the heart of our kid. We're one of those families that's weird. Now, I always mess this up, but whenever I'm home, every night without fail, we always have dinner together. And it's kind of hard. You know, I have 5 kids, so we're taking it here and there and which way. That means sometimes dinner's at 3 in the afternoon. Sometimes it's at 10 at night. Sometimes it's at Olive Garden, right? But we always make it work. And we always go around during dinner, and everybody has to give their high-low. They have to give the best thing that happened today and the worst thing that happened. You realize if you did that for a week's time, how much more you would know about the heart of your kid? By doing something that we all do anyway, which is eat. I want to say one more thing that I forgot at the beginning. This PowerPoint that I'm going through, I'm going to go through a lot of information, especially later. I'm going to show you how you can get this PowerPoint for free through your phone once I'm done. So everything I put up here on the screen is going to be yours to keep, and I'll show you how to do that right from your phone. So before you even leave, you'll be able to have access to all this information. I want to give you 4 reasons why knowing your child's technology matters. 4 statistics that if this does not encourage you to be where your kids are, which I believe is the minimum for us as a parent, that we are where our kids are. If they're on Instagram, you're on Instagram. If they're on Snapchat, you're on Snapchat. If they're on Kik, you're on Kik. Why? Well, how can we give our blessing to them to be on that piece of technology if we don't even know how it works? How about this? 25% of teens have been bullied repeatedly through the cell phones or the internet. Less than 10% ever actually tell their parents about it. And so if we are MIA when it comes to being online, wouldn't it be good to know if this is happening? Because a lot of kids are not telling you that it is. What about this? 9 hours, I told students this today, the amount of media that is consumed in front of a screen per day. Not making this up. This was from the USA Today 6 months ago. Another outfit did the research. 9 hours per day is the average that a kid is in front of a screen. It means that they're on a device more than they are sleeping. And for me, it's a little scary because I think some of us, we are sitting in the same living room with our families, and we look across the living room and we see our daughter there, and we're like, oh, this is nice. Our whole family's right here. But you don't realize that your daughter is doing something online that you have no idea what's happening over there, and her heart might be crushed, even though you think everything's all right. 9 hours a day? If we don't know what's going on behind that screen, that's an awful lot of time that we don't know what our kids are up to. 10% of teens have had embarrassing pictures taken of themselves without permission. And how about this? 20% of teens have posted or sent sexually suggestive or nude pictures of themselves. 1 in 5. That's pretty high. I don't know if that shocks you, but I tell you, I'm in front of some rooms. I was at a school, I remember last year, it was Kentucky. I remember it was Kentucky. 2 girls came up. They were 12, 11 or 12. They were 7th grade. And they were just happy, you know, they were talking, oh, hi, you know. And then they started talking about this, and they said what I'm about to say as if it's no big deal. They said, yeah, we've taken nudes. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like everybody does it. Like, you know, it's just how. I was in Philadelphia last year. I was at an all-girls Catholic school. And I was at the front of that beautiful chapel watching the girls come in very quietly in their uniforms. Sister Mary was up there at the front with me. She was a trip, and she leaned over. She said, hey, she said, guess what our biggest issue is here? I said, I don't know. What's your biggest issue? She said, our biggest issue at this school are the girls you see coming in, taking nude pictures of themselves and posting them on the internet. All girls Catholic school, and that's the biggest issue? I cringe to think what the real issues are in other schools that don't have a pulse on the population like Sister Mary does. I'm not making this up. I mean, this is all documented stuff. You can certainly see any of this information on the internet. But these are 4 statistics that cause me to go, you know what? I might not want to be, but I need to be where my kids are. I need to be where they're at. What are you doing to know about your child's social media behavior? Are there any rules in place? I want to give you a few of mine. And if you don't have any, maybe you can adopt some. But I want to tell you a little bit about how we roll and how, after my research on it, how I do this whole thing. But our first rule in our house is this. It's mine, it's yours, and it's a privilege. I call my daughter, but she's working at Chick-fil-A tonight. But sometimes I will call her in a parent evening, and I'll say, Julianne? She's like, what? I'm standing in front of parents. What's our first rule of technology? And she'll probably say with a little bit of attitude, it's mine, it's yours, it's a privilege. Because they all know that. That's our first rule. First of all, it's mine. Any device they have, phone, Xbox, DVR, iPad, doesn't matter what it is mine. I don't care if grandma bought it for them for Christmas, it is mine. I don't care if they mowed 27 yards this summer to get that device, it is mine. And if they break the screen, it's theirs. If they lose it, they can't find it, it's theirs, and it is a privilege. And I know we can say it's a privilege till we're blue in the face and they're never going to get it, which is why I kicked it up a notch a couple years ago. I took my oldest kid, Julianne, to the Dominican Republic on a missions trip. Anybody ever been on a missions trip before? Anybody ever been on one of those? Yeah, missions trip. They sell you on a missions trip that you're going to go and change the world. But you know what? You actually go and get changed more than you can ever hope to change anything there. And I knew that, so we went to the Dominican Republic by my 6th or 7th time, first time for her. And I made sure when we got there that we went to a little town. It's actually called the Dump. That's what it was referred to because was a little town built on a garbage dump. And every 20 yards or so, there was burning trash coming out of the ground, and people would make homes out of trash and whatnot, and they barely had clothing, so we'd show up in July and have these bags of clothing, and we were there for a couple hours, and I remember I was observing Julianne, and she didn't say a word the whole time we were there, and we went back to our house where we were staying that night, and I always remember sitting on the couch, and she came over, and she sat down, she said, "Dad?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I was just thinking about the dump." I said, "Yeah." She said, "I was just thinking that what I have on costs more than that entire village." I said, "Yeah." I mean, Julianne learned something that day. She learned that it's a privilege, and I didn't have to say a word. You might say, "Well, great, but I'm not going to the Dominican Republic." Now, you might not, but you can do something that we do routinely. 18 miles from our front door is Shepherd Community Center, homeless shelter. And I'm sure any homeless shelter would gladly take your services if you'd like to hand out dinner, which we do sometimes when I think my kid needs a little punch in the gut. We'll go down to Shepherd Community Center, all 5 of them, and we will help them out. We'll serve dinner, we'll clean up. Even my little 4-year-old Olivia, she can go over and put a plate of food in front of the guy that just came in and sat down off the street. You want the quietest ride home in a minivan with your kids? Go to a homeless shelter. Because as we're driving home, I don't got to tell them that it's a privilege. They've just seen firsthand that 18 miles from our front door, people have absolutely nothing. That's our first rule, but we have some more. Parental restrictions are settling everything. That's not even true. It's, and I know, listen, I'll go through this and you may be like, "I wouldn't do that." That's okay, I'm just telling you what we do. It's actually worse than that, because I can get into any device that my kids have. Whatever they're in, I can get access to anything that they're on. See, for our house, there is no Fourth Amendment. It's search and seizure all the way. I mean, I can get in any device. If I'm in Wareham, Massachusetts, I can get in Julianne's Facebook account if I want to. And our kids know this. It's been the policy since they've gotten a device. And it's not because Dad wants to play gotcha and get them in trouble. I don't work that way. I want to keep my kids safe from yours. You know what I mean? I'm kidding, but you understand? I want to protect them from that. I think some of us, we have them out in the cyber world, and some of us are just kind of rolling the dice and hoping for the best, that they don't sink. I'm not willing to take that risk. Julianne is 16 and a half, a little older than that now. Now, you know if you have older ones. You got to back me up on this. Julianne was 3 yesterday. I mean, just yesterday, she was 3. How is it possible that she's 16 and a half? You realize that in 18 months, it's game over for me. She's a legal adult. She can do anything. She can make whatever choice she wants. She can vote. I mean, I really lose my authority as far as shaping her. I mean, the game is kind of done. It's cooked. And far be it from me to just let the culture dictate what her choices are going to be. I want to shape that kid so that when she is able and does make those choices on her own, they're good ones that are going to have good consequences. Some more rules, if you give me a minute. Nothing's purchased without us purchasing it. Our kids are good now. They just come up to me if I'm sitting on the couch or whatever, and they just do this. They're like this. I see something that they want, and I download it. I play with it for an hour. I see if it's something that's okay, and then I let them know if they can have it or not. You might say, that's a little, Well, I learned a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. I was taking the big kids. We call them the first batch and second batch. First batch, we were going down to the first batch. We were going down to the movie store. We're one of those weird families. Do you do this? We go to a family video store, but we also have Netflix. I don't know why we do that, but we're driving down, right? And they're arguing about what movie they want to get. And am I the only parent? I was so mad I pulled the car over. You ever done that? Right? I mean, I just pulled it over, and that shut them up real quick. I turned around. I said, "We're not getting a movie." They're like, "What?" I said, "No." I said, "We're getting my movie." They're like, "No. What are we going to get?" I said, "We're going to get the best 80s movie ever." They said, "What are we going to get?" I said, "We're going to get E.T." They didn't know what E.T. was, but I was proud. We got the DVD, right? We came home, put it in there, we made the popcorn. I was so happy with myself until I didn't realize that halfway through the movie E.T. The family is sitting in the kitchen. I don't know if you remember the movie, but for about a 30-second scene, every curse word known to man is shouted amongst the family members. I couldn't find the stop button. My kids were like, oh, right? I mean, like, you realize this is circa 1983. How much more are our kids putting in their brains if we drop them off at the movie theater and pick them up 3 hours later on a Friday night in the year 2016? That's why I make sure I look at anything before they do it. Turn Safari off. If you don't know what Safari is, you got an issue already. And I'll tell you what to replace it with. And for us, technology doesn't leave the house. You might be like, all right, I'm done. He has gone off the deep end. Technology for us doesn't leave the house. I'll tell you why. There's too many adults that are walking around that, like you, I'm thinking you dressed yourself today. You actually made it. Congratulations. Without a phone, you got to where you were. But the biggest issue is this. Grandma's house is I've timed it, I've tripped it, 4.2 miles from our house. And we go to Grandma's house for dinner a lot. If I let my kids take a device to Grandma's house, how do you think that would go? Hey, Grandma. Am I right? That's why they don't take it out of the house, because when we go to Grandma's house, we're actually going to have dinner with Grandma. We're going to sit around the table. We're going to have a conversation, and you're going to learn some skills that you can't by staring at a screen. You know, it's not because I have magical parenting dust that my kids can actually talk to adults. It's because I've put them in positions where they have to learn those things. And being able to talk to adults is a huge, huge advantage. One that is diminishing among the kids that I see sometimes at the front of the room after a presentation. They come up to me, some of them, they say their name, I tell them my name, and then there's this blank look. And if it wouldn't be for me, that conversation would go nowhere, right? But if we both pulled out this and stood back to back, they could talk to me all day. And I think where have we come that kids are more than capable of having full conversations, sometimes with strangers, on this. But they can't have a minute-long conversation with somebody like this. Some of our rules, take it or leave it. Now we're going to get into where students live, social media. Probably from the time you left your house till the time you get back tonight, half of your children will be on one of these things I'm about to show you. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's kind of how it is. I want to show you what I believe are okay. I'm going through apps, right? Apps is where it's at, right? They used to be called icons on your computer screen. They're all apps now, but this is where kids, this is the technology they're in, and that's what we need to talk about. I want to look at ones that I think are okay. This is based, again, this is my rating system. You need to have your own, but this is what I have come up with, the good ones, the ones I'm not sure of, and the ones that I really don't believe anybody should be on. I also have some, if you want to look later, DVDs. In fact, a little bit I'm going to do here, I have in a DVD and a little bit more. It's called 40 Apps Reviewed and Rated. But I'm going to go through some of these tonight. We'll see how good you are. When I throw the icon up here, if you know what it is based upon the icon, say out loud what you think it is. These are the ones I let my kids in. Before I start this, let me tell you, listen, every piece of technology, you can find a crack in the door, and it can be used for ill, right? I mean, you can, in any of them. But these are the ones I'm okay with at the moment. Anybody know what this is? Instagram. Raise your hand if you're on Instagram. You're on it. You really legitimately are. Most of you. Good, yeah. Instagram. Instagram is home base. This is where kids are. Now there's another one catching up, nipping at the heels, but this is still this is like the home plate where kids are. This is where they meet. Instagram has evolved over the years. A couple years, really. You used to not be able to do video. You can do video now. Last, year? You can direct message on Instagram. I let my kids on Instagram. That's one of the places I let them. Many kids are not here. What is this? Why are they not here? Because you are, yeah. I mean, they're like, Mom and Dad, I'm out of here, right? I mean, they left that piece of technology a while ago. And you know what? As shown by the show of hands, you're warming up to Instagram, and eventually they're going to be like, yeah, I'm out of here, because there's too many adults on that. And the next piece will come up, and I'll show you what that is here in a minute. Another place I let them go, anybody know what that is? LinkedIn, yeah. It's like the biggest networking site in the world. You might be like, well, my kids would never want to go on that. Well, yeah, I know, but still, I approve of it. That's a okay one for them to go on if you choose. Ladies, in unison, tell me what this is. Pinterest, yeah, like the only place you can figure out how to build a cat with marshmallows or whatever, you know. I don't know what you do on there, but, you know, that's Pinterest. Most guys are thinking that's a Philadelphia Phillies logo, right? Pinterest, you know, I put that up in the safe category, and I do it so I remind myself that it's not as safe as we think. I was in Colorado last year, Yakima, a wine country out there, and the assistant principal came up after I gave the presentation. He's like, man, that was fantastic. He said, but the Pinterest, I had to call you on that. I was like, yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I'm like backing up. I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Do you do crafts or whatever? I mean, I didn't know. I'm like tripping over myself. And he said, no. He said, I'm not on it either. He said, but we have one-to-one technology here. And we had a 17-year-old who the IT guy came up to me one day and said, this dude is on Pinterest a lot. And he went on and checked the links where he went to. And did you know, I did, that you could find through Pinterest pornography? And this kid, 17, was accessing pornography through Pinterest. I had no idea. And he didn't either until he found that out. Anybody know what that is? Messenger, yeah. This used to be one and parcel with Facebook. They have separated them now. There's a Facebook app, there's a Messenger app. Some of you probably don't even know it. You're like, I'm on Facebook, and all of a sudden they throw me to something else. You don't even know what's going on. But it's Messenger, right? I'm okay with Messenger. And the last one I let my kids on, what is this? Twitter, yeah. That's it. They're the only ones I let my kids on. And I talk about my first batch. My younger ones are 6 and 4, so they're not there yet. But the first batch, that's all they can get on. They're not on these. They do that. None of them are on LinkedIn. I don't know if my oldest girls, she might have been on Pinterest. It's not a big deal, but she's on Facebook, my oldest one. My boy's on Instagram. Ben's 14, and I told him the other day, I was like, dude, like, you can get on Facebook? I'm just curious, why aren't you on Facebook? Sadly, he goes, Dad, it's too text heavy. It's like, great, I did not give you the appreciation to read, apparently. He just likes his GoPro camera and do trick ball basketball shots, and he puts them up on Instagram. So that's all he does. My 13-year-old is not on the internet. She doesn't even care. I don't know how I got so lucky, but that's the only places I let them go. That's based upon what I've seen, what I've observed, what I've downloaded of all of these and seen, and that's the only ones I'm comfortable with. Now the ones that I'm not quite sure, I debate on and off. Anybody know what this one is? YouTube. It's not really called YouTube anymore because Google bought it. It's probably going to be GoogleTube at some point, but if you've ever been on YouTube, you can type anything, like type something not real nice in YouTube, and you can find all kinds of stuff on YouTube. And the filtering system for YouTube is very thin. It's three things, like totally filtered, medium, and like not at all, but it's not really helpful to us. Anybody know what this is? What it stands for? This is standard messaging service. This is basically, well, it's not basically, it is the texting that you do through your phone, whether it's T-Mobile or Verizon, AT&T. It's just the way that you can text. And I have that in the I'm not sure category because raise your hand if you ever caught one of your kids that had deleted a text message. Anybody? All right, good. We have some honesty, right? So that can happen. That's why I question that a little bit. What about this one? Anybody know what that is? Tumblr. Good for you, sir. Yeah. Do you know what Tumblr is? Vaguely? That was awesome. You were the first one that said that in a while. Tumblr is the world's largest blogging site. It's where people go to blog. And I have that and I'm not sure because there's quite a bunch of things on Tumblr that you probably won't want your kids reading. And you can have free access to that. Anybody know what this is? Vine, yeah. You might not know what Vine is, but it's in Facebook very heavily. Like every 12th story is a sponsored video. You ever seen that? Usually Vine is behind that. And Vine videos are pretty short, which means even a flip phone, your kids can be involved in social media stuff because they can take short videos and they can throw it on Vine, one of those looping videos over and over again. And anybody know what this is? Huh? Nobody? WhatsApp. Yeah, Wendy. Yeah. This is WhatsApp. It's one word, WHATSAPP. WhatsApp. So if you think that you have like clamped down on texting because they don't have a data plan on their phone. If they have a Wi-Fi connection, they can use WhatsApp and text anybody on planet Earth. And you know everywhere there's a Wi-Fi connection, except out front of the school. Right? I mean, you can get a Wi-Fi connection. You can text anybody. And this is free. This is the biggest one that kids are using today. Now the ones, you're going to start crying in a few minutes. Anybody know what this is? Snapchat. Raise your hand if you're on Snapchat. Who is actually on it? 4, 5. Some aren't sure. Yeah, Snapchat. This, most of you are going to Instagram. This is the one the kids are going to. This is becoming even more popular. Within the next year, it'll probably become the one that is even over top of Instagram at the moment. Snapchat, you might know the premise. If you don't, I'll tell you that the idea is you can take a picture, send a short video, and it deletes in an amount of seconds that you deem worthy. But you and I both know you can screenshot anything and it never deletes. But Snapchat, I think, raised the game. They took the curtain off the internet about a year ago, not quite a year ago. On a Tuesday morning, very matter of fact, they said, hey, Snapchatters, starting today, if you pay us just $1, just 99 cents, we'll let you replay 3 past Snapchats. Which means the joke's on us. Nothing's deleted. They've kept it all. All that information is in their vault, and they were just waiting for an opportunity to capitalize on it, and they are making additional revenue streams through all that data that your kids, because mine aren't on it, are providing for them and making money hand over fist using that new revenue model. That's Snapchat. Anybody know what this is? Nobody? I think this is the most dangerous social media piece that's out there. From my best research and observation, I think 10 to 15% of students in middle school and high school are on ask.fm. It's ask.fm. You might not be as familiar with it because it's an app that's actually located in Latvia. So the United States has no control over the content in ask.fm. The thing about ask.fm is it is completely anonymous. So you can make an account. You don't have to tell them who you are. You don't have to tell them where you live. You don't have to tell them your age. You don't have to do anything, and you can get an account on ask.fm. You might say, well, what's the problem there? Well, let's say your kid goes home from school, and they say on ask.fm, hey, did everybody see Sarah today? Wasn't she dressed like a slut? And then everybody can comment about what was said, but you have no idea who posted the question, who responded after. Your kid goes to school, doesn't know who's a friend or a foe. And to make matters worse, Ask.fm, they've done research on it. They believe that half of the people on Ask.fm are registered pedophiles because there's complete anonymity to getting an account on that. Anybody familiar with this? Pete, you familiar with this one at all? You're writing it down. All right. This is called, you what?
I've got 3 daughters.
You got 3 daughters, yeah. I got 4. So this is called After School App. There are 91,000 public and private schools in the United States. My last look at this is over 14,000 schools are on After School App. I did not have a chance to check Wareham. My guess is you probably are. Any sizable school is. What it is it's a separate chat room for every school. But it's okay because they got to make sure that you're a student at the school, and they'll search your social media profile to let you have access onto After School App. Except I figured right off the bat, I was sitting in the Starbucks when I first got wind of this, and I thought, I wonder if this will work. I went into my Facebook page, I added Wareham Public Schools, said I was a student, bam, they let me in. So all you got to do is manipulate your social media, and anybody can join any school that's on this. This is a pretty tame picture because the actual, if you actually downloaded After School App, you would see, once it pops up and starts to load, the tiger is the face of a bikini-clad woman. And that's how you enter, by pressing somewhere on her body to get into After School App. It's very colorful, the app is. It's just kind of one thing after another thrown at you. And it's, people don't put their names usually, but they're like, I love you, Matt, and you'll never know. And then it fades, and then another one says, I hate math. And then, it's just random text, just on and on. Anybody familiar with Kik? Yeah, so thumbs down. Kik is responsible for more murders than any other social media piece that's out there. Maybe you are familiar with the story. Happened, I think, about 6 months ago. A 19-year-old Virginia Tech student, through Kik, friended a 13-year-old girl. The relationship actually became physical. She, through Kik, told him that she was about to tell somebody about what was going on. He, through Kik, told her to meet him, and they met down at a river, and he killed her. And at the river was her teddy bear and her blanket. That's Kik for you. Kik is probably the most sexual in nature when it comes to the social media that's out there. And it's open doors, so there's a lot of traffic coming in and out from other sources into Kik. Thumb. This is one, and some of these that I'll go to here in a bit. Some of these come and go. So some of them, I know sometimes people are like, I can't find this on the App Store or the Play Store right now. Well, that's because sometimes they don't obey the rules, and they're kicked off, and they have to comply, and then they come back again. And they might be renamed something, or the logo might look a little different, but it might be that they're down for a season. This is called Thumb. Let me tell you briefly what Thumb is. Thumb, let's assume you have a 14-year-old girl, right? A 14-year-old daughter, and she gets up in the morning, she gets a shower, she gets dressed, she takes a picture of herself, she throws it up on Thumb, she goes and gets breakfast. She comes back 10 minutes later because Thumb promises within 10 minutes there'll be anywhere from 100 to 150 people that will give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down to your outfit. Thumbs up or a thumbs down to your body part. Or whatever else you want them to thumb up or thumb down. And do you realize, some of you are looking at me like, that's crazy. Do you realize how many students, how many kids are more interested in what anonymous thumbs are saying about them than the people they're eating lunch with at the table at school? I mean, this is where kids are. This is where they live. Anybody know what that is? Anybody taking any Greek? This is called Omegle. O-E-M, or O-M-E-G-L-E. Omegle is the biggest chat room that's out there. You want to hear the tagline for Omegle? Omegle's tagline is, flirt with strangers. So your kid gets an account on Omegle. This is what's happened every time you log in. They will randomly throw you in a chat room with one other person randomly selected throughout the world, and there they are face-to-face with one other person. It's almost like speed dating online with random people. Burn note. Let's say you have told your kids you are not texting Tommy ever. Well, if they have Burn Note as an app, they can text Tommy. Tommy can receive it, but right away it burns after it's read. You can't find it. Now, if you had an affidavit from the police, maybe you could get that in those messages, but you would not be able to find anything that they sent through Burn Note if they have it. Some of you look very depressed. I'm going to lift your spirits up in a few minutes. It'll be okay. Down. Without being too graphic, I'll tell you how down works. Down is, currently it's not there. Down has a reputation for getting kicked off a lot. Down, you get an account, you give them access, and they will scour your Facebook, your Instagram, and they will search the profiles that you're connected with to figure out which ones you might be able to get down with. That's down. Yik Yak. Remember going into your high school stall and people had all these nasty messages written on the inside? That's what Yik Yak is, just a virtual kind of stall in a bathroom. Last one. What is this? Anybody know? Yeah. Somebody was like, calculator? Oh, looks like a calculator. This actually works like a calculator. I mean, you can use it as a calculator until you hit those 4 numbers in the right sequence, and then it opens up and it has all the pictures and the videos and the apps that your kids don't want you to see. It's called a ghost app. And there's a lot of them out there. This is just one of them. That's a famous one for iPhone. For Droid devices, the biggest one right now is Audio Manager. And Audio Manager it's really a good app. It controls all the audio pieces on that phone, but unless you know how to operate it, if you put your finger on the cursive Audio Manager at the top of the app and you hold it for 3 seconds, it opens up and there's all the hidden stuff that your kids don't want you to see. I think this should encourage us, if we don't know, to have a conversation with our kids. And not one where we go, guess what I found out? I mean, have an honest conversation and say, hey, I learned about ghost apps. Do you have any idea what that is? I bet you most of them are going to say, yeah. They might even know a couple. And that's a good opportunity to have a real conversation with your kids about, what are you doing with that? And do you know about them? You don't have one. Or you do have one. Why do you have? You have an opportunity to really have a great conversation. Now I'm going to help you out a little bit before we're done. Social media, ways to help. Remember that guy? Was that McGruff the crime dog? Didn't he take a bite out of crime or something? I don't know what he did, but he was there, right? And he's now the poster child for Safeguard. Remember I said Safari off? Safari is the go-to browser for Apple products. Chrome is the go-to browser for Droid devices. You can easily disable them within the contents, the software of the phone itself. You can replace with another browser, which is what this is. Safeguard is a browser. There's others out there if you're interested. One is Covenant Eyes. Another one is Ranger Pro. WebFence is another one. But this one is kind of neat. The interesting thing about Safeguard, and again, this one I haven't found this week. I don't know if they're updating it or what they're doing. But it's still there. You can still use it. Safeguard, every 24-hour period, you will get an automated email to your inbox that will let you know the websites that your kids went to in the last 24 hours and the websites that they tried to go to but were blocked from doing so. It's pretty good information to have, right? If we're going to give them a device where they can get all the information on planet Earth, wouldn't it be nice to kind of know where they might be going? I think that's a good one to have. And there's, and again, other browsers, you can do similar things. Anybody have this one? Oh, you guys got to get this. Pact. Pact, the biggest feature on Pact is, let's say you only want them to be on their device for 2 hours a day. At the end of that second hour, the whole device shuts down and it cannot be turned on again until you put in the code. So it helps with screen time, depending on how much you want them to have. It also has some other cool features. Pact, I used Pact for a little bit, but they've updated it, and I've heard that what they have on there now also, in addition, is a chore chart. You know how you probably have one on the fridge, and they're supposed to do it, but you don't know if they did. Well, you can have a chore chart, and when they say they're done, it lets you know, you're standing in the kitchen, and they just checked off, they mopped the kitchen, and you're like, no. So you have to approve it until they can actually access that app or that game. Not until they actually complete the chores. I think that's a cool feature for that one. Anybody have one of these? Obviously the phone, but this thing right here, anybody know what it is? It's a square, but it's actually called Circle. It's called Circle. Disney actually made this about 6 months ago. It's fairly new. It costs $99. You might say, what is it? Well, it's a glorified router that you can put in your house, but what this thing does is it controls all the wireless devices in your home independent from another. So if you want your 17-year-old off of the internet by 11 o'clock at night, they can't have access to Wi-Fi after 11 o'clock at night. Even for Netflix. My kids are big into Netflix, right? 9:30, I want to go to bed, right? And they're watching, they're like, Dad, but it's over at 10:30. You know what happens, right? 10:30 turns into 11:30, 12:30. I don't got to worry if you have Circle, because at 10:30, Netflix shuts off and they can't have access. If you have a smart TV, it'll shut the whole TV off at whatever time you dictate. Not a bad option here. I know people that have had it and they're pleased with it so far. Raise your hand if you have a child that wants to drive. Raise your hand if you have a child that does drive. Raise your hand if you have a child that you're pretty sure drove, but you can't prove it. You can't really prove that they did. All right? This is a good one. There's plenty of them out there, but this one it works like this. Let's say you're your older teenager wants to say they're going to go to the movies, but they actually go to Tommy's house. You put parental card control on their phone and yours, and guess what? You can see where they actually went. And the color-codedness tells you the speed of which they went to get there. Oh, yeah. Some of you are like, that was worth the price of admission right there. I'm getting that. Right? And that's good stuff, right? If I'm going to give my oldest daughter my Kia Amanti, you better believe that I want to make sure that what she's doing with that Kia Amanti is safe. Lassie project. For littler kids, you can build a profile for your kid here. And this is for us to be safe with our kid. Raise your hand if you ever lost your kid. Whoever actually lost your kid? Come on. Raise your hand if you lost them twice. No, you're a bad parent. Don't raise your hand. Right? I've done that before. You lose them, you freak out. Well, this is pretty cool because you build their profile and it connects to all your social media friends. And if you can swallow your pride, you hit the button and it lets them know that you lost Johnny. It's almost your personal Amber Alert, right? Before you get the cops involved. Anybody have Life 360? You like it? Yeah? I wasn't sold on your yeah. You were like, yeah. Yeah. A lot of them are. But, Life 360, let's talk about it before we were having this conversation. Life 360, if your kid goes to a birthday party or the mall and you're like, well, let me know when you're there. If they have Life 360, once they get on the premises through GPS, it'll let you know they arrived. You'll get a notification on your phone that they arrived, and they don't even have to text you or call you. You know that they arrived. I had a dad the other night. He said, yeah, Life 360, it's pretty good, except it scared me one night. Like, I had my daughter go up to Chick-fil-A to get dinner, and it had her at the Holiday Inn. She wasn't, but it looked like she was at a Holiday Inn. So sometimes I have found out that the more you use it and go through those places more than once, it kind of sinks more than others. Last one. I have not looked. I just looked at this just a couple days ago, called Family Time. I'm interested to see what it does, but it says the world's most powerful parental control app. It is, from what I've read initially, similar to our Pact, but there's a lot of features on there. Might be something to look at when you have time to do that. And again, this PowerPoint will be available to you. I want to say one more thing before we're done. Thanks for being here. I want to tell you a 4-letter word that your kids really love. And it's the most important 4-letter word that they will ever know from you. And the word is time. Time. If we were in a parenting class, and I'll do this sometimes, you'll get in the room and I'll say, all right, I want your checkbook and your calendar. And you freak out, but eventually you give it to me. And I look at it because how you're spending your money and how you're spending your time tells me who you love. Your kids don't need your checkbook or your calendar, though. They know pretty well, based on your time, where your love is. And I think we got to be careful with the time that we put out there for our kids, because sometimes we fool ourselves. Have you ever had somebody say, we need to spend quality time together? Anybody ever asked that of you? Nobody's ever said it? People have said that to me. Like, can we just spend quality time? Like, my wife is good. I heard her on the phone a couple weeks ago. She's talking to Laura, one of her friends. She's like, Laura, we need quality time together. Can we have quality time next Wednesday at Panera Bread at 4:30? And I'm sitting there going, really? You've planned this out 8 days in advance, right? Mitzi, you're going to have quality time with Laura next Wednesday at Panera Bread. It's going to be at 4:30. And I laugh at that because I've done it. Have you not tried to do that? Have you not tried to orchestrate quality time? I'll go home after a trip. Like, I'm going this week way too long. 6 days is too much. But I'll go home, and right away sometimes I'll be like, we're going to have quality time. We're going to all get ice cream. So I have 17 kids. So they're going all over the place. They're running around. And we get all out into the van, and Olivia doesn't have pants on, so we got to go back inside and get her pants on. And we finally get out in the car, and we're like, where's Ben? Ben's jumping out in the puddles. He's got to go change. We finally get everybody in the van. We go out. The ice cream shop's only like 2 miles down the road, but Ashlyn always has to go to the bathroom. So we have to stop at McDonald's. She has to go to the bathroom and get back. We finally get to the ice cream shop. Abigail Faith will always drop her first ice cream cone. I got to get her a second one. Isn't this great quality time that we're having? Right? And do you realize it doesn't work that way? You realize that quality time only happens when you are spending quantity time with those people that you love. It's those times when I'm sitting in the front office of my house and there's just too much going on, too much commotion, and I tell my wife, I say, hey, yeah, I'm going to Walmart to get shampoo. And she's like, yeah, well, you're taking 3. So I got to pick the 3 that I like. Just put them in the van, and we're driving down Pendleton Pike, and I have this amazing conversation with my 4-year-old in the very back for like 15 seconds. This is an amazing conversation. Shouldn't be having, but it's a cool conversation. And then she sees a dog, and it's over. But for like 15 seconds, we had an amazing conversation. We had a quality moment. But it wasn't because I orchestrated it or made it happen. It's because I spent quantity time with that little thing. And every now and then, I have an opportunity to really have a quality moment with them. Tonight's not about social media and technology, really. It's about the relationship that we have with our kids. I was traveling out west. I love out west, if for nothing else, that you can drive for miles and miles and you never have to turn the steering wheel and you just kind of veg. And I was out there, Wyoming or whatnot, just driving out there. And I know this isn't like rocket science to y'all, but I was thinking, one of my trips, I thought, Julianne, she's my 16-year-old. She is like the best kid ever. Like, she was our firstborn. I thought parenting was easy. I was like, what's the big deal? This is easy, right? I mean, she's just the great kid. She's the most encouraging one. She will write handwritten notes of encouragement to people and send them to them. And I'm thinking, Julianne is 16 one time. Ben's my 14-year-old. All into sports. He's such a sports guy. He likes the Packers. God bless him. Not the Patriots. We did not know that he really liked basketball. Until 6 months ago, he's like, I want to play basketball. And who knew he was like the best wizard at dribbling the ball. And now he loves that, and he's great at it. Ben is probably the most sarcastic kid I know. He can say something very bitingly sarcastic without even breaking a smile, and it's like the most hilarious thing. Ben is 14 one time. Ashlyn Grace, my 13-year-old, she's my fashionista. She can wear anything and it works. I don't know how, but it works. And she's the kid. Everybody has one probably. If they have more than 3, you have one of these kids that always smiles even if they're in trouble. They always have a smile. Even you have one. That's Ashlyn. Ashlyn is 13. One time, Abigail Faith, my 6-year-old, my apple of Dad's eye. I mean, Abigail, she's 6. How can she be 6? She's 6. She lost her 2 front teeth. I'm hoping they never grow back in. She's the most bold child we have. She will come up to you and tell you exactly what she thinks about you, even if she doesn't know who you are. Abigail was 6 one time, and Olivia Noel, probably the bravest, most compassionate one that we have. She's the one that will defend anybody that she feels is getting hurt, and she's always the first one when I get home that will greet me at the front door, and she'll come around up the front door and she'll fall flat on her back and want me to tickle her. And Olivia is 4 one time. When I go to bed at night, I don't want to put my head on the pillow because I am just completely exhausted because my job did me in. I want to put my head on my pillow at night and be completely exhausted because I gave everything I had to be a better father and a better husband. So, tonight, if you want a DVD up here, you can certainly look at them. They're $10 a piece. There's not a bunch here, but if you want some, cash check, or I even do plastic if you want to do that, but check them out if you want to up here. And like I said before, if you want my PowerPoints that we just went through, all you got to do, I got to explain this for adults. Kids know it. Their head's in the phone. I'm not even going to have to explain it, but this is how it works. At the top, where you would usually put in your mom's name or something, that you got to put 44222. And then in a little bar where you actually text, you got to put social media, all capital letters, all one word, and press send, and you'll be prompted, and then you'll get an automated email to your inbox that will have this PowerPoint that we went through tonight. My name's Jerry Ackerman. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.